Hey friends, welcome back to Filled at Home today. I'm Ashley. I am an artist and a mom, and something I really enjoy is spending time in my bedroom studio. And I actually just updated it this week, got this new workbench here. I'm really excited. I'm going to be showing you guys a little bit more of that in another video. It has really helped me have more space for my art. But art is just something that I've learned to start prioritizing in my life and my motherhood, help me be more creative and really have that creative outlet. And so I try to spend a little bit of time in here every day doing something small, whether it's a sketch or if it's a little painting. So if you need a creative outlet, I just want to let you guys know about a new artist community that I'm starting online. And this is going to be launching in January 2025. So this is for anybody creative. This is a faith-based group as well. So if you're looking for a community of faith-based artists and people that can collaborate and learn and grow together as artists, please stick around for more information about that. It's called Dwell Creative Studios. I'm so excited to be launching that, and I'll have more information down in the description if you want to learn more about that. But today I am going to take you guys along with me to create this winter barn painting. I found this little frame down in my basement a couple of weeks ago, and it had something old in it. I thought it would be the perfect frame for a cozy little winter scene that looks somewhat vintage just because of the frame. And I think just creating little folk type scenes like this really bring back a sense of nostalgia that has been somewhat lost and people are kind of returning to. As you know, a lot of folk art in the United States, like Grandma Moses and people like that, really created a lot of tiny scenes with little embellishments, little fences, little barns, people even sledding outside. So I really feel like it kind of captures that in this painting. I have a reference photo down in the description today that you can look at throughout this painting. And the whole process will take about 20 to 30 minutes today. You really only need a couple of simple tools and supplies like watercolors, a few brushes, a pencil, a little bit of tape, and of course some paper. So let's do this today together. Let's have some fun and let me know how it goes down in the description later. Let me know how this turned out for you. Here we are in my studio today. I have my Canson 140-pound watercolor paper, and I'm just putting my washi tape around the edges of my paper. I cut my paper out, just a half sheet of my paper, and I really love using the washi tape because it's so easy to take off. I measured a 5x5 square here, and I'm just taping that off. Gonna spray down my watercolors, make sure they're ready to go, give them a little bit of time to sit there and get moist. Okay, you're going to need some sort of a light pencil, like a 2H pencil, or just a regular, school type pencil would be just fine. I put a little hill there in the distance at the top of the page, and I'm just going to draw a very light horizon line in here. I have a link for this reference photo here in the description, but I will also have it available here as well, so you can just kind of see what I'm doing here. We're going to go ahead and map out our barn. Now you can use a ruler for this, or you don't have to. I've done both, but there's something I kind of like about not using a ruler and the imperfections. It just makes it feel more real. And so I'm just creating some simple lines and shapes here. As you can see, if you can kind of follow what I'm doing here, this is going to be the side of the barn, which is fairly much just a square with a triangular top on it. And then the side of the barn
really doesn't have much of an angle to it at all. It's almost parallel to the horizon line here. Now, I this is how I draw personally, so feel free to just, bring whatever type of drawing skills you have to this game. But I really like to just freehand a lot, and then if I make mistakes, I just have my eraser available to change anything. And as you might notice, part of the barn there kind of goes down at a little bit of a slant, part of the roof. And the big thing here you're going to want to notice is that to make sure the top and the bottom of the sides of the barn and the roof are at the same angle. And I just use my pencil like you just saw, and I just kind of compare them to each other to make sure that they look like they are about the same angle. This is a really simple way to draw, and I learned this in college, really. But I think it's something that is such a simple, useful tool, and you don't have to be so precise, but you can just get kind of general angles like that. So, same thing here. I'm going to make sure that the angle of that line and this line are going at the same angle. And I just use my pencil again to kind of line up the angles. And then if I see anything that's off, as you can see, there's a few angles a little bit off. I'm going to go back and adjust those things. So I can see that this angle here is a touch off from the back of the barn. I'm just going to kind of adjust that. So really, these are the only drawing skills you're going to need for this painting. We're going to try to keep it really simple for drawing. Erase any lines you don't need. And then we're also going to just draw in our lines for the door of the barn and windows, things like that here. Okay, I'm going to go in and add this little rooftop perch here at the top. Now, I'm not making this too precise, so I'm just really making like a square rectangular type of shape with a triangle on top. And that's where they have their little weather vane on here. Drawing in a very light horizon line here. Okay, we are ready to begin our painting, giving another spritz here to my watercolors. And again, all of these things I'm using today will be linked down in the description in case you're curious about what I'm doing. I'm going to start with a wet on wet wash at the top. So I'm just using plain water there at the very top section. And then I'm going to mix up my color for the sky. I'm going to keep it a really pale blue, but I'm also going to use my deeper blue for this one. It's a ultramarine blue, and I'm going to mix that with my Payne's gray, which is really one of my favorite colors for tinting and making darker tones. And so the Payne's gray is kind of a mix of kind of in between black and blue almost. So I'm going to mix those up. I'm using a large paintbrush here, 16 round, but you can use any larger brush that you have that would keep a good amount of water onto it. I'm diluting my color here that I've mixed up, and just kind of dab that into the top section to begin the sky for your painting. Now I'm going to switch to my smaller brush. This is a 6 round brush, and I'm going to grab some red. What you really want is a cadmium red, which is on the more orangey side of reds. And again, I'm going to tint this down with the Payne's gray. A little bit of Payne's gray added to that, make it a little bit of a darker red. Now we're doing wet brush on dry paper. No need to add the water first here. We want to get really precise lines, and just make sure that as you start painting, you follow that bead of water down the side of your painting. Just kind of tracing around, and then I'm using the edge of where I had previously painted to begin painting further down. As you can see, the side of the barn is where the shadow is. So we're going to make our cadmium red. We're going to mix that with even more of the Payne's gray to make it a darker red color here. And then the same method of painting, we're just going to paint starting at the top, working our way down, keeping our edges really precise. Although it is perfectly fine for your edges to kind of bleed together there on the barn, whatever the effect you prefer, kind of have fun with that one and see what you like. I'm also going to add a few touches of the darker red to some different areas that I see. Now, if you look at the rooftop there, there's obviously snow on the roof, but then there's a little touch of the roof peeking through. So we're just going to kind of use our Payne's gray and blue mixture to paint that on there. A little bit of my shadow going to be painted as well. I'm just putting some plain water and then I'm adding the color on top. Going to let that spread down and around. Okay, let's make some colors for our tree. I have some yellow ochre going over here and then some burnt umber brown color. I'm kind of mixing them together. And take your brush, get it really wet. I'm actually going to use a larger brush for this portion. We're going to paint a large tree over to the side of the painting. Just starting at the very bottom and swiping up, using the full width of the brush all the way up. And as we can tell just from the picture itself, the photograph, that the light is coming in from the left side. So we're going to make sure that as we paint, we're always going to have our highlight over to the left and then our darker side to the right. So I'm going to use my clean dry brush and just kind of swipe off a little bit of paint there for highlight. You can even use a little bit of paper towel to achieve that effect too. Different blotting techniques here. I'm going to go back in with my burnt umber, a little bit darker this time, and really get the side of the tree there that's going to, not on the highlighted side, so you want the shadow really showing. And I think the more contrast you have between light and dark in any area of the painting, you're going to create more interest in the painting. Okay, we're going to create a little fence here, and I just have that brown again, that brown mixture. It's going to be slightly lighter though because I did mix that burnt sienna and a little bit of the yellow ochre into it. Painting very carefully here, although the fence in the photograph is actually pretty broken. So just kind of stagger your fence posts as you like. It doesn't have to look a certain way, but they're going to surely get smaller as you go in towards the horizon line in the painting to create a little bit of depth perception in there. And then I'm just going to kind of connect them. And I like the look of it not being perfect and just keeping them, less than perfect looking. Okay, let's draw in, now that our sky is dry, our trees here. We're going to do 2 trees. We're going to use that burnt umber, brown, and burnt sienna mixture. And using the tip of your smaller brush, you're going to press hard and then lighter as you get towards the top where the branches are going to be smaller. And I'm just creating a Y shape with this tree. And then remember, as you go up with trees, you're just going to make each branch keep going up into a Y and keep getting skinnier and smaller as you go up. And just have fun with this one. It doesn't have to be perfect. I even myself kind of, oh, oops, kind of thing. But I think that's just the fun of painting is, working with your mistakes, figuring out in the moment and making it work and making it into something beautiful. let's go ahead and paint in our shadows here. Now that things are dry, the fence is dry, the tree is pretty much dry. As you can see in the reference photo, there's a lot of shadows cast across the ground, across the snow, from the trees, from the fence posts, from objects that we can't see in the picture. And so we're just going to start up by that barn and kind of drag your blue and Payne's gray mixture across. I'm going to kind of go down at an angle here as well. You're going to use different sides of your brush, kind of experiment with dragging your brush, with using the side of your brush, and drag the angles across. We're going to just give that illusion of snowy shadows here. Okay, now we have a snowy tree line across the back. Well, really, it's not that snowy. It's more of a brownish green, but dead trees kind of in the background. And so let's just go ahead and mix up a few colors for that. I have an olive green going, and I have a touch of some of that burnt umber. I'm just going to kind of paint this around behind my barn and around the branches of my tree. Now, this is a step that I could have probably done before I did those trees. That probably would have been a little better. But, you know, like I said, as paintings unfold, you kind of can figure out things later, or you can just kind of make them work. And so that's what I'm doing here. And just try to paint a little bit here and there in between your branches, and it's just a very watery, you know, paint look anyway, so it kind of really lends itself to what we're doing here. We're really just kind of highlighting, you know, where is that horizon line basically a second horizon line going on there in the background. Going to add some touches of green on top of that watery mixture as well. Give you an illusion of some evergreen trees there in the back. And the green is more of a sap green here, not the olive tone I was using before, which is more brown to it. This one is more of a sap green, kind of popping that through in a few different places. We're going to add a few little evergreen trees here in the middle ground of the painting. Now these are not in the reference photo, but I just decided to put them in there. I just thought they would be really great for this scene. So kind of put them wherever you want. I just have this one over here to the side, and then I'm going to give the illusion in the background to some more evergreen trees. Okay, I'm just using a little technique here with a wet and clean brush to pull off some of the paint. This is a snowy picture, so we do want it to have the illusion of snow on our trees. I'm also going to take that green and I'm going to put a little wreath on the barn. okay, we're going to use the tip of our smaller brush. We're going to use the brown, the burnt umber color, and we're going to do another fence line there at the horizon line. This is just going to be really small. Again, it's a broken looking fence, but it's going to be the darker brown because it's further away. We're creating that depth perception here with a darker color. Now I'm going to be just using my plain black that I have. And now my barn is dry and I can approach it again. I'm going to paint in the little windows and the door here on the barn. as you've noticed, I've used a little bit of salt here and there, and I am going to go ahead and get rid of the salt now that it's dry. And that was just kind of to enhance that snowy look. It makes these beautiful crystals into the watercolor. However, if you're not wanting to do that, I would highly recommend getting a lot of paint, white paint on your brush, getting your brush really wet, a firm brush, and flicking the paint across your page. It will give that snowy look. It'll be beautiful. So there's some different options you can do there with that. And I'm also going back with my eraser, just getting rid of any unwanted lines, cleaning things up just a bit, and kind of trying to get the top of this perch to be a little more defined there. I don't always do this, but if you have a micron and you want to use a micron for any of the details, maybe on the barn, or you want to outline things, that's another way to do things as well. So I'm just kind of doing that a little bit on the top here. And for this painting, that's all I'm going to do with my micron. I hope you guys had fun today and enjoyed this painting tutorial. Let me know how it went for you down in the comments section. I love removing the tape at the end of the painting and revealing the clean, crisp lines, seeing how it's all going to look. Again, if you have a frame to put this in, I think it's a darling little accent for any area that you might have in your home. Thanks for joining me today, everybody.